everyone, and welcome back to the Homestead Knitting Podcast. My name is Danielle, and I am the maker and designer behind Homestead Knitting. And this is my channel where I talk about the knitting, crochet, yarn related, those sorts of things. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Thanks for watching. Okay, I do have a lot to talk about today. I don't know if you can tell in the background, but I do have a new acquisition. Actually, I have quite a few. I have for sure like one finished object. I have a few whips in progress to talk about. Yeah, I haven't been knitting or crocheting nearly as much as I think I wanted to. Life's been a little bit crazy. I don't know if it ever really slows down at this point, just, it's crazy. I had a hawk again try to attack my chickens. I was actually outside when it happened. I went outside and just everything was just quiet. Absolutely dead silent. And if you're ever out in the country and something's dead silent, that is a sign that there's a predator around and there's danger and something's going to happen. So of course I start looking around like, where are my chickens, because there's nobody in sight. And then I hear it, the death scream from one of my chickens. So I go running, in one hand I have my phone, and the other hand I have a metal coffee tin, because I thought I was just gonna go outside like a normal person, collect some eggs. And yeah, in the middle of my driveway there was a hawk trying to attack my chickens. I just started yelling and just running, and it flew off thankfully, and my chicken went running and she went and hid. So I saved my chicken somehow. I don't know how I did it, but that was fun. We had a major thunderstorm here a couple of days ago. We actually had hail, and unfortunately it desecrated what was left growing of my garden. It's been a horrible growing season this year. I've harvested peas once so far to the garden, and that's the only thing I've been able to harvest. Nothing's grown this year. My zucchini and my pumpkin are just starting to flower, but they just look horrible. There's like loony sized holes in some of the leaves and that from the hail we had. It was so bad we had to close up all the windows in the house, and we went and sat in the basement for a while because we were worried that the hail was going to crack one of the windows. We ended up losing power that night, and we had lost power for about 20 hours because sometime through the night we had a tree fall onto our power line and completely knocked out the power, and then we had to wait for the power company to come by, and of course they did. It just took them a while because there were 9 other reported outages, so we were the 10th person on the list to come and get their power restored. So yeah, life has been absolutely bananas for me. Just kind of taking it one day at a time right now. Yeah, still surviving, everybody's still alive, so I'm just like, yeah, okay, everybody's still alive. I'm just trying to keep positive and kind of just go from there and just hope for the best. In other news, I've started a new skincare routine, and I just want to say I'm so happy with it because I don't know if it's ever like that visible on camera, but I do suffer from acne in my adult life, and it just sucks so bad because I've suffered with acne for like probably about 10 years now or something like that. And when I tell you I've tried almost every store-bought just like skincare off the shelf that you would buy at a supermarket, I think I've tried almost all of them, and 90% of them do not work for me, or they'll work for a little bit but they will like cause me to break out. But when my sister came home from Australia, she gave me a face mask from this Korean skincare brand, and wow, it actually worked. So I went and picked up some more products from them, and so far so good. I think it's been about a month and I haven't actually like broken out too bad from them or anything, so I'm taking it as a sign that like good stuff. So yeah, at least there's one thing to be happy about. Okay, so enough of my rambling. just gonna grab one acquisition I forgot to grab. Okay, so I grabbed hopefully the last acquisition that I forgot about, and let's get into yarn talk. Okay, so I have one finished object. I don't have a pattern for this one. This was completely something I've made out my own. This is the sweater that I've made for my boyfriend, and I am so happy to have this project finished. It's been about a year or so in the making, so it is a miracle for me that it's done. I'm actually overall like happy with it, so yeah, and I will show you the finished product. So I started a bottom-up crochet sweater for him. He chose the colors and he wanted a chevron in it, so I said okay, whatever, I'll make it. So I started here with the ribbing. I did double crochet, then I did some math, and I added a bunch of stitches with some single crochet, and I did some slip stitches to get more of the clean like chevron look. Then I did, I think it was about 3 or 4 rows, no, maybe 5 rows of red and 3 of black. I did accidentally add like an extra row or 2 right in here, but that's okay. Then I did some, what do you call this, like treble crochet stitches, and then like double and then single and then slip stitches to kind of get it to be that even look. And then I did a few decreases because it was a little bit larger than I wanted after, and I just did single crochet in the round all the way up to the armpit split. Then the front and the back were worked separate, and then I just flipped the sweater inside out and I slip stitched the shoulder seams together. I then went around and I counted for the arms how many stitches I had, and what do you call this, I did some decrease rounds, you can see, just to kind of bring it in a little bit because I did not like how big they were. And then I just did single crochet in the round. I then played around with stitch count again to form the chevron. I did 1 black chevron and 1 red. I then did the same thing with double crochet, triple crochet, like single crochet, and just played around with the stitches to get it to a flat color, flat line basically. And then I did a couple rounds of single crochet again, and then I went in and did the double crochet ribbing for the cuffs. So they're not perfect for the sleeves, but I think it's just fine. They're definitely like a little bit more of a balloon sleeve because I didn't do a bunch of decreases before I added the chevron, and then I did a little bit of decrease just so the cuff fits a little bit tighter. However, I've been watching a few people lately on YouTube that say they don't do the sleeve decreases on sweaters, they just do normal, and then they just do rapid decrease for the cuff, and I was like, oh okay, like I think I'm gonna try that in the future. So that's basically what I did for this sweater. Oh, and of course there's the pocket down here that I did incorporate into the sweater. And then up here we have the hood. Again, I went around and I picked up stitches and I did single crochets. I did some decreases in the front here so it would get more of like the proper shaping for the hood or the neck area. It's a little bit harder to tell, but I did do some decreases. I just single crocheted back and forth, and then at the back of the hood here I just gradually did some decreases, and I do have a little bit of a point right here, so I could have rapid decreased a little bit more to get more of like a rounded look, but that's okay. And then at the end I just flipped my hood inside out. I did the slip stitch again to seam it. I then made I made a double knit. No, I just made a knit I-cord. It's not double. So I just made a knit I-cord and I held the red and the black yarn together to make this marled I-cord look for the string. And I did did I do single crochet or did I do half double crochet? I did single crochet ribbing here. I just chained, I don't know, like 12 or something like that, and I just made it long enough to fit the hood, and then I did some single crochets all the way around to attach it to the hood. And of course I had to weave in my ends as I went because it made it that much easier. I could have attached it on the inside and have a little bit more of a seamless look, but I do kind of like the look of the seam on the outside. I think it kind of adds some texture to the sweater a bit because it is very plain Jane. And I used a 4.5mm hook for this sweater, and the yarn I used was from Ice Yarns, and I used Zerta Alpaca, which is 30% alpaca and 70% Draylon acrylic. Draylon acrylic, if you do not know, is kind of like more like what their label is, like premium acrylic. It's still acrylic, it's just like a slightly nicer acrylic. And there's about 175 meters in one of the balls here, and it's just in a gray color. It doesn't say the color names on the labels. And in case you're wondering how much yarn my sweater used, 4, 8, I'm gonna say about 10 balls of gray and about 3 balls of the red and the black. And the red and the black yarn is also from Ice Yarns, and it's Favorite Wool. It's 50 wool, 50 acrylic, and it's about 210 meters per ball. And I did hold the red and the black double because it is much thinner. So it looks not bad in the ball form. However, when you use it, it does stretch out quite a bit, and it almost goes down to like a fingering weight or a sport weight to me. So I did hold it double just to add some volume, because when you compare it to the alpaca acrylic mix, it's quite fluffy, and I find it's very nice and lightweight to work with. Whereas this one, I feel like it compresses a lot more. So to make it more even when it was worked, I did hold 2 strands of the black together and then 2 strands of the red together to make the chevron, so it's a little bit thicker than the gray. But overall, I'm happy with the project. It's finished. I am so excited. Here's what it looks like. I will potentially insert footage at the end of me having it on. The only thing I'm worried about is if I did make the sleeves slightly too short, but that would be easy enough to go back and cut the cuffs off and just add a little bit more like single crochet to the arms and then to the cuffs. Gosh, that was hard. So my boyfriend has no idea that is complete. I will be gifting that to him for Christmas this year, so I'm very excited to have it finally finished. So yeah, that's my first finished object. The next 2 finished objects are something that I've never actually shown it on this channel. It's not something I've done before. It's something that is brand new to me. How did I even get into this? I was watching, I think it was like 100 Acre Woods or 100 Acre Wool or something like that, here on YouTube. She has a podcast, I can't remember her name. She's also a knitwear designer. She just put out a call for this cute little tank top, and it has like ruffles on the bottom. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So I was watching her channel, or one of her podcasts, I guess. I just stumbled upon it, and she has been getting into hand spun yarn, and that's what really inspired me, was the look of hand spun yarn. And I've been seeing so much Spin Cycle lately, and I know Spin Cycle is based off of hand spun yarn, if I remember correctly, like the look of it anyways. And I thought it was really beautiful, and I was like, okay, like I kind of went down like a rabbit hole from there, just looking at like different hand spun yarn and just how like hand spun yarn works, and how like you spin yarn, and a whole rabbit hole. It was great. I had a great time. I'm still having a great time. So my finished objects are here. I have this skein, so you can see some of it's definitely underspun and some of it is overspun, and this is Corriedale? I think it's Corriedale. Anyways, it is a breed of sheep, and this is the natural color of the fiber. My second finished object is this one. This is 2-ply. The other one was just a 1-ply yarn. I was just experimenting. And of course you can see it's definitely like a roving style yarn. There's thick, there's thin, there's slight overspun, there is underspun. But yeah, I was having the greatest time just learning how to spin yarn. And I do have a bobbin on my wheel here that is full, so I will have to take that off. And maybe I'll spin later. Anyways, I'll show this like in the acquisitions section of the video. Sorry, I just have some coffee here in my mug. It is so cold today. One of the reasons why I'm not sitting in my usual spot is, number one, my house is really dark right now. It's very cloudy and it feels like it's gonna rain again. The other reason is I want to show off my acquisitions, and I thought it would just be easier because it's already over here. So anyways, okay, I think I'll talk about this one first. I do only have 2 whips to show you right now. I feel kind of like, not disappointed, but it just feels weird to have only 2 whips right now. So I do technically have like 2 other whips in progress. I have a cardigan that I need to make sleeves for, but I'm just still kind of in the corner. I'm still very undecided about what to do for sleeves for it. And then I have the blanket, but I have no ambition to pick it up right now. I need to attach a longer cord to it, and I need to wind up some more yarn, and I'm not enjoying knitting the bobbles right now, or like the bubbles. Yeah, the bubbles. I'm not enjoying knitting. So anyways, this is, what is this one? I just showed this one off in my last episode. This is Cercis by Amelia Ann Designs. It's a top-down raglan, with lace sleeves and then a lace panel in the body. So of course my sleeves are done and I'm just working on the body. I'm knitting this up on 4.5mm needles. I'm using fingering weight yarn. I'm using Knit Picks palette, which I absolutely adore, in the colorway Current, and it's 231 yards per ball. And I think I'm already on the 3rd ball. And on my needles here I have my little leaf stitch markers, my little elm leaves, I think they are. I haven't picked this up too much, so I still have like quite a bit of the yarn on the ball. But that's okay, I've just been distracted with other things. I'm gonna come back to it. One of the main reasons I haven't been working on this was because I just had it tucked away in my yarn cabinet because I was like cleaning the house and just trying to tidy my space up. So I just had it tucked away, and then I just haven't pulled it out yet. But that's okay. I have knit, I think I've knit about a chart and a half, which is probably about 20 rows or so, because one chart is 14 rows. So of course I showed this off last time. So you have these beautiful, oh I got hair on it, lace sleeve details. It'll need a really good blocking just to bring out that lace. And I chose to go for the short sleeve option. There is 3 different sleeve length options. You can have short, elbow length, or long sleeve. And there is some short rows incorporated in the pattern to raise up the back of the neck as well. And then in the body you also have the continuation of the floral lacy section. I don't know if you can tell, but it actually comes right down from the armpit. It is beautifully written the way the lace works and how you pick up your stitches. And on both sides of the body there's this continuation of this lace pattern, and it looks seamless up close. on both sides you have the lace, so it's very easy, just stockinette and then a little bit of lace, and the lace is so much fun to knit. It's just some yarn overs and just a few simple decreases, and that's it. And I've never really like knit lace before, but wow, I've had so much fun with this pattern. It's so good. I would highly recommend this pattern if you were looking for a fun lace knit. This pattern is also free, and a lot of the designs this designer has are also free, which I thought was really shocking because they have a lot of really great designs. This pattern is graded for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 different sizes. The only thing is I wouldn't consider it to be 100% size inclusive because it only goes up to a 63-inch bust, and they recommend 2 inches all the way up to 4 3/4 inches of positive ease at the bust. So if you were on the larger section, this design may not fit you. However, if you are modifying the pattern, I think you would be able to modify it enough because in the chart section there's a 10 stitch repeat. What I would probably do is just add another repeat section and just kind of go from there. I'm not really sure why they didn't add one more size. I feel like one more size would be needed, you know? Just to make it more size inclusive, because if it's only up to 63 inches but you want them to have positive ease, that feels very unfair to somebody who would be wearing one of the larger sizes. But I do think it would be easy enough to modify this pattern if you had to fit your body, whether you're not a standard size like me, or the pattern does not accommodate your size. I don't think it's really fair to have to do that, but I think it would be easy enough to do it if you had to. Or I would just choose a different design that is sort of similar to this in the look, because there are other designers out there, of course, who are more size inclusive. But anyways, that is that. Oh, and if you're wondering, I do have some stitch markers here on my cable just to mark out where the lace pattern starts and ends, because sometimes I get a little crazy when I'm knitting and I'm just like going along and then I don't notice that I have a repeat coming up, or there's like a pattern or something. And that's actually what I did on my next whip. So I am also knitting another sweater. I am knitting the flax sweater from my mom. It'll be a Christmas present to her. And I am knitting the smallest adult size, which is extra small, and it should be 31 inches at the bust. Mine is looking a little bit small right now, however that's okay. I know I did knit a gauge swatch and it was a little bit on the small side, but then I blocked it and it blocked out to be almost the same gauge as the pattern. I think I'm like a stitch off. Like my gauge is 1 stitch smaller than the pattern calls for, but that's okay because my mom's bust is, I want to say 32, and I'm making 31, so it'll give me at least 1 inch of negative ease at the bust. And my mom is also shaped like me, where she has a bigger bust but a smaller waist. So I'm hoping that when I block it, I'm just gonna like gently block it and not stretch it out too much for good reason. And on these needles, I'm using 5mm needles. I have my little snowflake snowflake, what do you call it, needle stoppers. These are from Cara & Co. Same with the elm leaves. I saw Cara & Co. through Sometimes I Make Things here on YouTube. That's Grace's channel. I actually found her through Instagram, and that's how I also found her through YouTube. But anyways, she shopped at Cara & Co. and she is in Ontario, Canada, and I'm in Alberta, Canada. So just hearing from another Canadian knitter was super nice. It was also nice to know that the shipping was not going to be really expensive, because to ship anything in Canada right now is so expensive. Like depending on the weight, it can be anywhere from $5 all the way up to $20 or $30 just like shipping within Canada in itself. Anyways, run a tangent. Okay, so here is my sweater. So last time I would have sat down a podcast, I would have just had a swatch. So I've knitted the whole yoke, and I'm actually just finishing off the body right now. So I did make a little loop, and I was supposed to switch to smaller needles to knit the ribbing, but I already did like 4 rounds of the ribbing before I realized what I did, and I was like, well, it's not a big deal to me, so I'm just going to keep going, and I will potentially switch for the cuffs because I do want them to be a little bit tighter. And the only other thing I have also blooped on was at one point when I was knitting my sweater, I was of course getting a little bit just into the rhythm and whatnot. I wasn't paying attention, and I had to frog a little bit back on the sleeves. I don't know if you can tell, it's a little bit loose in here, so I'm just going to go in the back and just pull it up together. What happened was, I'm supposed to be knitting garter stitch panel, but I started knitting garter stitch, and I had like 6 rounds of like reverse stockinette, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I was looking at it, and I was trying to figure out why it looked all weird, because it was too like squished together. And then I flipped it to the inside, and you could tell it was not garter stitch, and I was like, well, I gotta frog back. And of course I did it on both sleeves. Made that little bloop error. There's a little bit of holiness, but that's okay, I fixed it. Everything is right again. So yeah, I'm just finishing off the body, and I'm having a really great time with it. It's been a while since I've knit just like pure stockinette as well. I think I've been kind of knitting lately. It's just been like in pattern or lace or something, but I'm having a good time. And the yarn I'm using with this is Beaver Slide Dry Goods, and it says it's merino wool grown in Montana. So it's merino wool, and it's grown on a Montana Rocky Mountain front, which is a family-owned and run ranch. It's processed in Canada, where it's spun on an antique spinning mule. No harsh chemicals are used in this process, resulting in a unique product for the hand knitter. Approximately 4 ounces of 2-ply worsted weight yarn, 90% merino, and 10% fine kid mohair. Approximately 241 yards per skein, and the color is Thimbleberry. It says it retails for about $12 US, and this is what it looks like up close. It is absolutely stunning, and believe it or not, I actually found this yarn on the buy and sell page. I found it quite a while ago, like back in March, beginning of April, so I thought it would be perfect for a gift for sweaters because it is worsted weight, it's a beautiful yarn, and I paid $45 for the bag. I think it came with about 12 skeins of this, and it's 241 yards, and I think it was about 2,400 yards, 2,400 yards, somewhere in there, that I was able to snag for $45, I want to say it was. So I was very excited. I picked it up, finally using it. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can see this, but just like this squish, it's really nice. It definitely is not the, sorry, this yarn is, you can definitely tell it's been like processed by hand, because sometimes you'll get like little pieces of grass and that in the actual yarn itself. It doesn't bother me, I just pick them out as I knit with it, or if I'm gonna crochet with it, I'll just like gently remove them, but that's okay. But yeah, the yarn's actually quite soft, and I think it will soften up as well once it gets washed and that as well. You know what I mean? Like once I block the sweater, it'll be softer, and just with wearing it, I think it'll be softer. And I was also really unsure about what it would look like all knit up, but I think it has really nice stitch definition on the sleeves here, which I was really in love with, because I was worried that the stitch definition was just going to get lost in the sweater, but I think it has really amazing stitch definition, so I'm very, very happy about that. And as long as I have this off the needles soon, I will be happy. So that is my sorry, one sec. that is all I have for my whips, and then I have some acquisitions, and wow, I have a few. So I did end up visiting my grandma because she had a couple of bookcases that she was parting with. She was getting something new, and she said, hey, like, if you want them you can have it, and I was like, okay, sweet, free furniture, I'll take them. So my boyfriend and I, of course, went to my grandma's and we went and picked them up, and because my grandma lives relatively close to a yarn store, I said, hey, can we just like stop in and I'll see what they have, because my boyfriend wanted mitts. And in my last episode I did show off some mitts, but I didn't like them for whatever reason. Like, I just sat and thought about it. I just did not like what was going on with them. So I decided to frog it, and I just said, you know, like, I'm gonna get some different yarn and play around with the needle size and the yarn and see if I like it better, because I'm not in love with what I've done. Oh shoot, I also have a project I'm gonna frog that I want to show you. Speaking of mitts, I did try knitting mitts for his cousin Dana there. Again, I was using Tin Can Knit's World's Simplest Mittens, and I was using 6mm needles and Burnett Premium, which is a number 4 worsted weight, 100% acrylic, and I was using the dark gray heather color because I have a full skein of it, and it's about 360 yards per skein. So you can tell I did the cuff, and then I was knitting the thumb gusset, and then I was getting into the actual knitting of the hand. However, I don't know if you can tell how large this actually is compared to my hand, but there's almost an inch and a half, I'd say, at least an inch to an inch and a half of just extra fabric on this side. And so I did do a gauge swatch, and I did measure my gauge on the actual mitt as I was going along, and it was looking not bad until I cast off the thumb. I started knitting in the round again. I don't know if you can tell, but I had the hardest time keeping tension and gauge properly. You can tell there's like this side's all looped because I could not keep tension properly. So my hands for the Tin Can Knits pattern comes in about the adult small, and my boyfriend's hands comes in about the adult large. So I was aiming to knit the adult medium, and it was putting me with this mitt that I had measured, and my gauge, it was gonna put me between the medium adult and the large adult size. And I said, okay, you know, that's fine, I can make that work. However, I tried this on my boyfriend, and it fit him, and that really worried me because he's the adult large size, and of course it's acrylic, so it is going to pill, it is going to stretch out over time, and if it's already that large, I was worried that they were just going to stretch out and become too large over time. So I'm going to frog this, and it's kind of going to go into the pile of yarn that I have that I don't really know what to do with. So I think I'm probably just going to make some amigurumis or like stuffies or toys or something with basically all the acrylic yarn I have left. The only thing I really do with acrylic yarn these days is I make blankets with it as well, because it's relatively cheap, and I don't mind it for blankets. However, I have made a few sweaters in the past when I was an inexperienced knitter. I've never made sweaters before, and I didn't want to go out and buy like expensive yarn and then not like it. But since then, I've discovered a lot about myself, and the first thing is I don't like wearing acrylic on my body because I cannot control my body temperature well, so I like to wear layers, and because acrylic's not the most breathable material for me, I will get extremely hot and feel extremely uncomfortable, and then I just end up changing out of the sweater and I don't actually get to like wear it. And when I'm spending that much time on a sweater that I can't wear comfortably, and I don't like the way it feels that much on my body either, definitely feels like a disappointment to me, so I no longer knit with acrylic. And the other thing is, when I knit with acrylic, I find it like blooms on me. Kind of like what happens when I was demonstrating how when you work with the favorite wool from Ice Yarns, how the yarn stretches out and it gets very thin. However, I find when I work with the acrylic yarn, especially Red Heart Super Saver, I've had this happen so many times to me. It's so frustrating. Make a gauge swatch, do my thing, everything looks fine, and all of a sudden it's like the project is like 10 times bigger than it should be because the yarn has bloomed as you're working with it. And this yarn has bloomed a lot, and it doesn't really like stretch out per se. Like there's not air in the yarn that you can just like stretch it out with, but just it blooms as you work with it. So it's a little bit frustrating. So I did end up picking up different yarn. That's one of the reasons why I went to the yarn store, was to get yarn for mitts and a few other things. Okay, so yeah, this is my failed whip project. Alright, so my actual first acquisition I did not spend any money on. This was a gift from my dad, and I thought it was such a sweet, sweet gift, and I absolutely love it. It's my first ever yarn bowl. I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually like bigger than my head. It's just for reference, my whole hand fits in the bottom of it comfortably with room. So it is this absolutely stunning wood. It's been wood that has been layered together and glued together. Then there's wood blocks that were glued together to form the middle part of the bowl. And then there's the thin layers of wood with the glue together to form the top of it. And of course it has 2 holes, so if you want to do color work, this would be a perfect yarn bowl for color work. And it has the little like yarn tensioner. That's what it looks like on the inside. It's absolutely stunning. And this was actually made locally here in Alberta where I live. And on the back it just says Marcus J. Wood Builders, Millet, Alberta, handcrafted wood products. So I was so excited when I saw this. I could not believe that my dad bought me a yarn bowl this big. He actually, I think from what I understand, is he actually got, it might have been a custom order, because my dad said like he had other yarn bowls, the maker, but they were quite small, you know, like the average size yarn bowl where it only holds like 1 cake of yarn, but this one will for sure hold 2, maybe 3 cakes of yarn, depending on how big the cakes are, like how many yards it is, and like which weight of yarn you're using. So I was so excited, and I've been using it every day. That's actually why I'm keeping my flax sweater in right now, is because it fits quite nicely so far, like just in the bowl. Obviously not all of it fits in the bowl, but I can still like squish it in on top, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I was so excited to finally own a yarn bowl. It's something that I've never owned before, so I've been having a really great time with it, using every chance I get. And that's one of the main reasons why I actually haven't been working on my other project, is because I've just been using my yarn bowl and just enjoying it so much. Alright, what do we want to talk about next? Sorry, I have a lot of acquisitions today. I feel kind of guilty about all the acquisitions I have. However, I feel like I'm getting a lot smarter about the yarn I buy, and all of the yarn I've bought and I actually have plans for, so that is a lot of growth. At one time I didn't know how to buy yarn, and I would kind of just buy like whatever I liked, but now when I go into a yarn store, I plan out everything. I plan out what yarn I need for a project, how much I want to spend. I also have this whole like thing about how I buy my yarn. I'll explain it in a minute. So the next acquisition I actually have is the Chagoo Twist Shorties, the 2-inch and 3-inch interchangeable set. I found these on a Yarn Destash page, and I was so excited because I love to knit socks, and these include 2mm all the way up to 3.25, and you can make 9 inches all the way through 14-inch circular needles. And these were $100, and at the knitting store anywhere across Canada right now they're $170, $180. So this is a huge, huge savings to me. So of course I picked them up for $100. They're brand new. I'm thinking what happened is somebody bought them and they just didn't like them, or they were gifted to them and they just they weren't going to use them for whatever reason. So yeah, I picked those up, and I am potentially casting on socks or mittens with those quite soon. Okay, so back to what I was saying about my yarn. So when I go into a yarn store, I actually go online first and I check out their website, and I really struggled just to go into a yarn store and like pick something out and be like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. I like to calculate the price per yardage actually, and just kind of calculate like how much would this cost me to make a sweater out of this yarn, or is there like a yarn similar to it that I can get that I'm still gonna really love. So it's kind of how I buy my yarn, and sometimes it's really hard for me to actually pick yarn out that I want to just buy. So yeah, so I went to the local yarn store and I already had an idea of what I wanted to buy. The first thing was I wanted to buy something for the mitts for my boyfriend's cousin because I was not in love with the worsted weight yarn I had. So I picked out Eco Harmony Worsted by Estelle Yarns. I've only used Estelle Yarns once before, and it is in this charcoal gray color. I figured gray was a good color that everybody seems to be okay with gray and black. I feel like white's very on the fence because I'm somebody who doesn't like getting white because I can't keep it clean. And also just, I feel like when it comes to color, people are very much like either love or hate certain colors, so I don't want to go for a color that may not be enjoyed. So I figured gray would be a good substitute for a yarn, and I didn't want to go for black because I don't like knitting with black yarn. So this yarn is 55% organic wool and 45% organic cotton, and it's 233 meters or 254 yards per 100 grams. And it says Global Organic Textile Standards. It has the little organic symbol on it. So I have only used Estelle Yarns once, and it definitely was not the Eco Harmony worsted. So this is a new to me yarn. Overall, it does feel soft. You can definitely feel like the cotton in there a little bit, but it's not a rough cotton. It's definitely more like mercerized cotton feel to it. I actually overall like the feel of it. It has a little bit of a heathered look to the yarn as well. I feel like it's a little bit harder to catch up on camera, but there's some parts that are more black and there's some parts that are more white. So yeah, this will become a pair of mittens for my boyfriend's cousin. And it was not a bad price point. So it was $15 for 254 yards, which is a little bit pricey. However, it is organic wool and organic cotton. And the closest thing I can think of to buy like in a store that is not a yarn store would be probably Lion Brand Trubu or Lion Brand whatever the other one they have is. But those are about $10 or $12 a ball right now in Canada where I live. And they're hard to find. Usually Michael's and occasionally Walmart will have it. And those are just bamboo or like a bamboo cotton blend maybe? It's bamboo and there's something else. Anyways, that is the closest thing I can think of. And I think the yardage is also only like 150, maybe 200 yards per ball. So I think this one is a slightly better buy, and this one's worsted and that one would be about DK, but still. Anyways, so it's not a horrible buy, but it's not the greatest buy in the world. The next thing I went into the yarn store for was some yarn for my boyfriend for mitts. I let him pick out whatever he wanted. I said, okay, like, just here's the section, pick what you want. He picked Madeline Tosh sock, which is 100% superwash merino wool, and he picked the colorway Void. I did already wind it up. This is a fingering weight yarn, and it's 395 yards per ball or 361 meters. And this one is black and gray, and there's white and it's speckled, so it's quite beautiful. This is also a new to me yarn. I have not tried out Madeline Tosh yet. It is something that I did want to try out, so I'm actually very excited that he picks this out for his mitts because I can try out their yarn and see if I like it or not. And this is $32 Canadian for 395 yards. So this is definitely a more expensive hand-dyed yarn. I don't typically buy as much hand-dyed yarn. However, since the pandemic started, the price of yarn has just gone through the roof. And unless I'm ordering it from the States from Knit Picks, there's not that many good yarn deals like around me. And I've said before that the only place in town I can go and buy yarn is at Walmart. But even then, the price of the yarn's gone up a lot. The only thing Walmart really sells is acrylic and maybe some Bernat Handicrafter cotton, and they've reduced the size of the yarn section. Like at one time it would be just like half the aisle. Now it's like maybe a quarter, and it's just on like one, like it's not even in an aisle, it's at like the back of the store and just like on a wall. That's all they have now. So the yarn selection's really poor. So when I do have the chance to go to yarn stores or the chance to buy yarn in person, I do like to kind of like buy for quite a few projects at once, and then I will just stash it and just have all the projects picked out for the yarn versus kind of having like random skeins just laying around. So this will be for mitts for my boyfriend, and he also picked out this DK weight yarn. He asked for socks, so I was like, yeah, okay, which kind of socks do you want, thin or thick? And he's like, oh, I want thick socks. So I was like, okay, pick something out from this section. He's like, okay. And he picked up Malabrigo Ario, which is a DK sport weight, 335 yards or 306 meters, 100% superwash merino, and it's color 164. It just says Sir. This yarn is quite cool looking. So there's black, there's purple, there's blue, there's pink, there's white, so many speckles. And because it's 100% superwash, it won't wear nearly as well if it was a merino nylon blend. So I did pick up the what do you call this, the reinforcement thread. They had this right at the tail, so I just picked up the color that I liked or that I thought would match not bad with the yarn. And this is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it's just a reinforcement thread that you would knit with the yarn, excuse me, as you knit your socks. So you will be getting another pair of socks, which is fine. He never asks for anything knit anyways, so I was okay with doing that for him. The other reason I had to go to the yarn store was because the yarn I'm knitting for my mom for Christmas is not superwash, so it has to be hand washed. And I thought I would pick her up some soak. These are soak singles wool wash, and I figured I'd pick her up the singles. She could pick whatever scent she likes best. So I picked up one of each scent that they had besides the unscented. So I have fig, pineapple, yuzu, lacy, and then there's celebration. And I figured my mom could pick whatever scent she liked best, and then I could just pick her up a bottle of whatever scent she liked best, and she could have like a full bottle of it and wash her sweater at her own leisure. So that's another thing I picked up. And then I did pick out, oh sorry, my nose is itchy. Picked up yarn for one sweater. So I do have a couple other sweater quantities right now. However, all of them I've actually planned for what I'm gonna knit. So that's good. I have plans for everything, so I don't feel nearly as bad. And I picked up yarn for Jessie May's Diaphis Raglan, I want to say it's called. I know sometimes we make things, sometimes I make things, made one, Grace did. She did out of Knit Picks yarn, and it's the one where it has the v-neck in the front and the back, and the main body is whichever fingering weight you choose, and then the sleeves are the lacy mohair look. So I picked up Knitting for Olive Merino, and their fingering weight blend, which is 100% extra fine merino. It's 250 meters per 50 grams. And this is $13.50 per ball where I live. And this is what it looks like. And I picked up the colorway Dusty Moose. And I picked up 3 of those. And again, this is a new to me yarn. I've never used Knitting for Olive yet, but I've seen a lot of people recently knitting with it, at least within my like knitting group. So I've been wanting to try it for sure, and I am excited to see how it knits up, because it is definitely it is a more affordable fingering weight. It's definitely within the middle, I'd say like middle for fingering weight. It's not as expensive as hand dyed, but it is still a little bit pricey for what you'll be getting. Then again, I feel like my options are really limited, not unless I'm ordering online from the States, but even then, like with the exchange rate right now, it's kind of expensive because it's about $1 US is about $1.30 or so Canadian. So it is a little bit more expensive to buy yarn from the States right now. So it's getting almost equal to buy just like the yarn in Canada versus to get it from the States. So it kind of depends on what you want the yarn for. And to match it, I picked up Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Merino in the exact same color, Dusty Moose, and this is 70% mohair, 30% silk, and it's 225 meters per ball, and it comes in 25-gram balls, and the mohair is 1550 per ball, and I picked up 4 just to make sure I had enough. Here's what it looks like. Again, it's new to me yarn. This will actually be the first time I'm using a legitimate mohair yarn, and I'll know it's mohair. Here's what it looks next to the gray. I did also think about, I almost went for a dusty like pink sort of mauve color, but it looked kind of not the same like in person versus online, and that's kind of the other thing. I really like being able to buy the yarn in person just to feel it, to see it, to see like the colors against my skin as well, and just to kind of decide if it's a colorway that I'd actually wear. So I picked up 4 of the mohair, 3 of the merino, and I'm hoping that'll be enough to make the sweater. If not, I can always pick up 1 more ball. So that's what I have. And last but not least, I did make an order through an indie dyer, and I was so excited to finally be able to support them. And I ordered from Polar Bear Yarns, and I ordered the mystery, how do you call this? Mystery Sock Club of the month. Last month it was ice cream themed for the Mystery Skein of the Month Club. So I picked up 2 skeins because with the shipping, typically if I'm ordering from the States, that's from an indie dyer or just like a smaller yarn company in general. I think about 3 or 4 skeins will keep me within the shipping range, but if I order like 5 or more, it'll boost me up within like the next shipping bracket. But shipping starts at like around $20 anyway, so I want to make sure it was going to be worthwhile. And here are the 2 sets. You can tell this one took the dye slightly differently than this one. However, I think they're both still so beautiful. And this one is, so they're both called Lemon Berry, and she even tells you what they're naturally dyed with. And this is DK weight, 75% merino, 25% nylon. The full skein here is 245 yards per 100 grams, and the mini skeins, there's 2 in the set, so it's about 90 something, 100 yards for the mini skeins. And it also includes this cute little lemon stitch marker. And then the other socks that I have is the same colorway, same stitch marker. And this was 80% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, and this is fingering weight. And this is 200 yards for the half skein and 80 yards for the mini. And they were absolutely beautiful. The other thing was the yarn actually came wrapped in tissue paper, and they have little thank you stickers all over, like where the tissue paper was folded up to hold the yarn in place. And they also came with 2 tea bags, one for each skein. So I was like so happy. Just like a nice little like surprise to get tea and just to see the little thank you stickers. And it was so nice because I've ordered from other yarn companies before, and 9 times out of 10 it's just yarn thrown in a mailer bag or yarn thrown in a box and it's not wrapped up or anything. So even just the extra step of seeing tissue paper was just so nice. And of course the little stitch marker that matches the yarn is so cute. I will for sure be knitting up some fingering weight socks probably after I get some gift knits on the needles, because I have a hat to make for my dad, and I'm gonna make my grandma some socks for Christmas. And I also want to knit a bralette, but I do have plans for both of these. I do have a sock pattern that I have not published yet. The main reason was I didn't actually get pictures of the socks before I gifted them, and they didn't fit my feet right, so I didn't want to. It felt weird, like I couldn't get like the proper picture for the socks because they were not made for my feet. And I ordered the DK weight sock set as well because I've never knit DK weight yarns yet. Never knit DK weight socks yet, and I figured I would just write up a simple DK weight sock pattern with this one as well. I have found one other dyer in Alberta who does DK weight socks, but there's only one yarn store that I know of that sells her yarn, but it's kind of out of the way for me to go. I don't want to stop in at the yarn store and just like, just for that. Like if we had other reasons to go to that yarn store, because it is like just out of the way, or if we were in the area I'd stop, but everything's just out of the way these days. Alexandria also sent along a little mini and a little drawstring bag that says thank you for supporting my small business, and I was so excited. Check this out. She sent along this little mini, and it says Polar yarns, fingering weight 75.25, 92 grams. And if you want to support her yarn shop, I will also have it linked down below. And this month for her mystery sock club, it is oh, what do you call this, with the butterflies, monarch butterfly themed, because monarch butterflies have been put on the extinct species list. So a portion of the proceeds from the sock club of the month will be going towards a charity. She does have it listed on her Instagram which charity or foundation she'll be sending the proceeds to, but she will be sending some of the proceeds to a charity that will be helping the monarch butterflies because they're on the extinct species list now, so it's very sad. And also when you support her shop, a portion of the proceeds also go to helping save the polar bears. So, and of course it's hand-dyed yarn, and she naturally dyes the yarn, so I think it's a really great shop to support. She's an amazing human being. She was also running a sale this weekend. What day is this? I'm recording Monday. It's August. I don't know what day it is. It's August. The sale might be over, but she does have some really cute summery yarns in her shop right now, so if you're looking for some yarn, I would highly recommend hitting up her shop. I think the yarn is great quality. It's so soft. It is definitely some of the softer hand-dyed yarn I felt, you know how some of them are a little bit like woolier feeling? This one's definitely like, that is soft. I would wear it on my skin and not be irritated by it at all. So yeah, I definitely would support her shop. Again, of course the tea was a nice surprise. The little stitch markers that match the yarn are super cute. So yeah, what else was I gonna say? I don't remember. I thought I had something else to say. I do have, unfortunately if you made it this far, I actually have more acquisitions because I have a spinning wheel, of course. I also picked it up off the Iron Salt page. That's what's sitting here right now. Like I said, I was watching the, I think it was 100 Acre Woods podcast on YouTube. I think I'm getting the name wrong. I don't remember the name of the maker either, of course. I'm brain fried. So yeah, that's how I kind of started looking at handspun yarn, and she recently got a wheel from a viewer who was no longer spinning yarn. I don't know if the viewer just did not like spinning or they just weren't using the wheel, so they gifted her a wheel, and she was showing off a lot of her handspun yarn, and I thought it was really beautiful. So I was like, oh, like let's just look into the spinning wheels. Like, how much are they? Like, how much would it be to start? And believe it or not, I found an absolutely amazing deal. You know what? I'm just gonna clean out quick, and then I will like move the camera so you can see the spinning wheel, and it'll make more sense. Okay, so I'm kind of out of view, but that's okay because we're not focusing on me. It's just a spinning wheel. So this is my spinning wheel. This is a peacock spinning wheel, single treadle, Scotch tension. Fun fact about peacock spinning wheels, they are imported from New Zealand. They were only made in New Zealand, and they're made out of special kind of wood only found in New Zealand as well, so I thought that was really cool. And this wheel itself is somewhere between 1985 and 1991 it would have been manufactured from what I can find. So I do have a bobbin here on the wheel. It is pretty full, and it did come with 2 other bobbins as well, so I was very, very excited. And it was actually only $100, if you can believe it. I was absolutely shocked, and it's still in condition. It still spins yarn. The person selling it said they just don't spin anymore, and it was even cooler because my parents offered to go pick up the wheel for me because I was unable to, and the person who was selling it, they actually spun their own yarn from their own sheep that they had because they lived on a farm, and they had a couple of sheep, so they would spin their own yarn and like do the carding of the fleece and all that. So it was very cool. I was kind of jealous I didn't get to go and like meet this person to go pick up the wheel, but that's okay. And the other additions to my, what do we call this? Additions to like my stash, I guess. These are actually, almost all of them were free. So I have this beautiful gray fleece, which I'm spinning right now on my wheel. I'll pull it out so you can see. I have 2 of these. The other one's a little bit bigger. This one is Border Leicester Roving Gray. And the gray color, it's a very soft, beautiful gray color. Absolutely stunning. So soft. It's definitely not as soft as merino, but once it gets spun up, it like gets softer. And it definitely has a little bit of like a grip to it as well. I'd say it's a rather hairy, reminds me more of a mohair. Actually, I really like the way it feels. I think it's gonna make some beautiful yarn, and I've never knit with this kind of yarn before either, so I was very excited. In this bag here, I have what's left of the Cordale brown fleece. It is kind of just a mess, but that's okay. In this one here, I have, oh, excuse me, I burped. I have white alpaca roving, absolutely stunning. Just look at the squish. Oh, so good. I could literally squish this all day. It's that nice. Okay, and the last one that was also free to me is, okay, so the last one I have is 60% Romney, 20% alpaca, and 20% silk. And again, the ones I'm showing you were all free. My grandma has a very good friend of hers who is a spinner who I had no idea who even spun. I know who she was, but I didn't know she spun. So she was so kind and gifted all of this to me. So I have this blue one, and it has a little bit of sparkle in it. Absolutely stunning, so I can't wait to see what it looks like spun up. And then there is a green one as well in the bag. So that is that. And on my wheel right now, I do have the Border Leicester, or yeah, that on the wheel right now. I spun the Cordale. It was very fun to spin. And then of course at my local, I want to call it local, but it's not even that local to me because it's at least 2+ hours away. I picked up some Malibu Noob roving, which is combed top hand-dyed 100% merino. And I picked up the colorway Aguas. I think that's how you spell it. Or say it. What am I going on about? And it is this beautiful blues and greens and a little bit of more of like the darker tones. So I think it'll be really, really stunning to eventually spin this. Merino is supposed to be a short staple length, so it's supposed to be a lot harder to spin. So I'm definitely kind of spinning everything else and seeing how I do, and then going from there. And the other one I picked up was Cereza, which is also Malibu Noob, and it's a red with some black toned. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave me some comments. What are you knitting? What are you crocheting on? Are you also spinning? Are you designing anything? Are you dyeing yarn? Yeah, that's all I have. So thanks for watching.